Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another episode of the Dork Side of the Ring podcast. I'm your host, the purveyor of all things dorky within the scope of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. I am Grum, and I am glad to have you guys here for yet another foray into the dork side of professional wrestling, dork side of the ring. If you're listening to this early on Patreon, awesome, cool. Heads up, this Friday, the 1st of, the 5th, not the 1st. Tomorrow's the 1st. That's when the 5th of November, I will be on the Noobcast with MissMicheleJean, who you are going to hear on this episode of Dorkside. If you're listening to this after the fact, this past weekend I was on the podcast. So go check that out. I'll have links in the description for you to go and watch the VOD. Fun episode today. The reception to the first part of the Halloween doubleheader was great. A lot of people enjoyed it. A lot of people, I think, are going to enjoy the second part. I will say it right now. Thank you for the feedback for the second part. If you sent it to me as well during the week it was out. We've got today, though, MissMicheleJean and Carize Hunter, two of my friends from Twitch that I found, or found me, or who knows. We found each other on doing some Grand Theft Auto roleplay. And they're very, very sweet human beings, very incredible friends, very talented content creators. That, well, you'll see you'll hear the plugs to where you can find them. We've got the Kiss Demon, and boy, oh boy, is that a wild one. So I should give you some backstory here before I get into it. I kind of want to start doing this. As I've said before, I fall asleep every night listening to professional wrestling in some fashion. And the last couple nights I've been watching WCW for the last couple years, from 1995 till the end, basically from the day Nitro was started until, and every show that I'm capable of watching at the time on the WWE Network and now on the Peacock Network. And I really screwed the pooch on this one because it's not. I probably should have picked a different match for us to watch. So we ended up watching the debut and the special main event that was a contracted main event, so that WCW was not held liable for failing to come through on a contract with Kiss. And I don't regret it. It's still a good call. But there is a match at Bash at the Beach 2000 that I did not know about entirely. I knew that it happened. I didn't know it was a graveyard match, but it was between Vampiro and the Kiss Demon, and the build up to that was just even more dork side of the ring. So go seek that out if you're trying to find if you have the Peacock Network, or just go look and find Vampiro and the Kiss Demon feuding. It's very weird. I don't understand I mean I do, but at the same time, like, it's just bad. It's bad, but also it's dorky. So yeah. I don't have much to do. November. It is as I'm recording this, October 31st. Halloween. Happy Halloween. But this month and next month are the last 2 months that I will be streaming on Twitch as a Twitch affiliate. I am going to be doing offboarding and whatnot. I'm going to be going through the process of the process after Grummas. Grummas is coming up. Now, if you're listening to this podcast and you don't know what Grummas is, then let me explain to you. It's a good time. 23 days of Grummas. It is there's no religious basis in it. It is basically just me celebrating the holiday season without the extra baggage, creating it. I think there'll be a YouTube video at some point in the coming weeks of explaining what it is, the thought process behind it. But basically, this time is always a rough time for some people, and they associate Christmas or Hanukkah or any of the variety of holidays, even New Year's, with some really down feelings. And I don't, even despite the fact that bad things have happened. The love and the good times has been so much and done so much for me that I want to put that energy back in for some people. So Grummas is the way to do it. So we'll be on the lookout. That starts December 1st. And we're going to have a lot of fun with that. Also, tell your friends about us. Tell your friends, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at DorksideRing. And tell about the Patreon. If you would like to contribute to me in the podcast, patreon.com/grumsupport.grum.tv. That'll all work just the same. We have 2. By the time this goes up on the 8th, we'll have 3. I actually also, the month of November, everything I add that is not early access to the podcasts will be free to view. Just as a tease, because I'm going to be working on my YouTube stuff as well. So that's what that'll be good. I'll have an exclusive episode for the Patreon. We'll do the exclusive streams for the Patreon tiers, and that'll be good. So that's the month of November, and then December is Grummas. So all good. Without further ado, let's get into it. This week's episode with MissMicheleJean and Carize. It actually should be Carize and MissMicheleJean, but it just rolls off the tongue better to say MissMicheleJean and Carize. I don't know why. We're talking about the Kiss Demon from 1999 WCW and 2000, because we talked about Super Brawl 2000, the main event match that went on second against the Wall. So we'll get into that here on the Dork Side of the Ring right after this. Hit the bell. Ding, ding. Ding, ding.
Bring it full circle. I'd wrestle in the rain. I would totally wrestle in the rain. I would love that.
I feel like, so, it's funny you say that. This past WrestleMania was in Tampa, and they've been doing outdoor WrestleManias since, 2008.
Okay.
Yeah. Almost every other, at least every other year, but there's back-to-back years. This year they're in Tampa, and so the second night, I think it was either the first night or the second night, there was a weather delay to the actual event because it was raining and it was thundering, so they had to clear out everybody. Nobody was allowed to be outside,
right?
And I'm just like,
that's the best. That would be the best.
It would be, but it wasn't just the way that it's set up is there's this big metal structure that holds the cameras and the lights above the rings and the screen and everything.
Right.
So it's not like you're out in the open in a wrestling ring. You have, a lot of metal around you, and you're just maybe don't get struck by lightning.
That lightning wasn't part of the special effects for this show.
Yeah, I didn't know the Undertaker was going to be here.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're here on the Dark Side with my friends Carize and MissMicheleJean, two wonderful human beings. Blessed to have them. That's right, I said blessed. I'm throwing that vocabulary out there. Yeah, it's a strong word. Just to be casually thrown around. It's a strong word. We're here on the Dork Side, though. Glad to have you guys. We were just chit-chatting a little bit. You guys caught us in the middle of 3 friends cutting up a rug, so to speak, in a digital format. But yeah, how you guys doing?
Really good.
Yeah,
super
doing
good.
really well.
Yeah.
That's good. See, I asked you guys that before. I wanted to see if you guys were consistent, still good, or you guys were just going to turn it on. I like this. Consistently being good. This is good. But yeah, no, glad to have you guys.
Thank you for the invite.
No problem. Anytime. I'm glad we were able to work out a time. There was a little bit of juggling. I think we were just this time. Well, what about this time? Okay, this time it's tattoo. Toxic Tuesday, which without context is hilarious because it's wait, Toxic Tuesday. Toxic Tuesday Tattoo Day. Combine them all. Let's get some tattoos on Toxic Tuesday.
Okay, I'm down.
Toxic Tattoos Day.
I'm down for it.
All right.
Triple T.
Okay.
Make it happen.
There we go. So we go alphabetically here when introducing our guests here, and that would be you, Miss Carize.
Me, hi.
Yes, go ahead. Give
the
yourself.
spiel.
Give the spiel. Let the people know where they can find you.
Hey, my socials are kind of weak at the moment because I haven't been doing a lot of streaming, but most people can find me right now mostly active on Instagram, which is Carize Hunter. And I'm super original. All my channels are pretty much Carize or Carize Hunter. So you can find me on Instagram, Twitch, and TikTok. Doing a lot of like motorcycle riding this summer. So that's probably the bulk of the content that you'll see. And did you want us to talk about our wrestling backgrounds?
We'll get to that.
Not yet. Okay, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But I want to commend you because you're the first. I'm clapping. I don't know if it's picking up. It's getting picked up in the Discord call. But
I got it.
I've done roughly at this point 20 or so recordings.
Okay.
And or close to it, and most non-American guests that I've had are horrible at promoting their stuff.
Really?
And I tell all of them. Like it's not like it's just very it's the Canadians are very humble. The Europeans are very humble. It is the Americans are like, yeah, here's where you can find all my shit. Also, like we're gonna do this, but it's like it's refreshing to hear a Canadian who is aware of like, hey, this is my stuff. This is what you can find. Like I had Jedi on a couple weeks ago at the
love Jedi.
As you're listening to it, great guy, hilarious, and in a very Jedi way. I said Jedi, where can the people find? Go ahead, tell the people where they can find you. He goes, I'm Imperial Jedi. I'm on Twitch and I'm on YouTube. And I go, Jedi, what the? He's like, I don't promote myself. I don't know. I'm not good at it, in very Jedi way. So I hyped him up. I was like,
with that, it is a very Canadian thing. I think I've noticed that as well.
Rob did it very well, but Rob was in full on.
He's a different cat. Yeah,
he was ready to go. Empire kind of did, but like.
Empire's fantastic too.
But it was just,
good about it.
He got distracted. I guess somebody shined a light halfway through him.
A bird was chirping.
And he was like, "Oh, what was that? Where was I? Don't worry about it. It's Empire." We had Bear and Buttons on, and they were just like, "Yeah," like they were both adamant. No, I don't. We're not good at this. Like I was like, all right, like you can find there, this stuff, that stuff. So it was funny to. It's funny to be like, wow, look at this. A Canadian
bam, here's my stuff.
Who could be like, hey, here's where you can find me. Also, here's what kind of content you'll find.
Can see. Yeah.
Speaking of American introductions, I have warmed up the floor for you there, MissMicheleJean. Tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Well, you just pulled back the curtain so you could see everything in Gorilla, didn't you?
I did. I did.
My name is MissMicheleJean. You can find me on all the socials with one L Michelle MissMicheleJean. I'm on Twitch, Instagram. I do have TikTok. I'm not nearly as good as Carize here about uploading stuff, but I occasionally, once in a while, do stuff. Usually it's just my record player. So I do that stuff on Twitch. I usually do a lot of simulation, space type games. I also do this weird thing called roleplay on my channel and a separate channel for that. It's that's a well of it of stuff that we could talk about too. I have a feeling we will given the group here. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. And then additionally, I am also the host of a podcast. I do the Noobcast podcast, which is a gaming discussion and news podcast that occurs, we hope, every other week. That's recorded live on Twitch and then moved over to all the popular podcast platforms. And that's kind of everything I do.
This is so refreshing. Again, now we have another first here on the dork side. Another podcast host who's a guest who plugs their podcast. I had Mop on. I literally just recorded with her and Jill, Mop Garden and Tony Jill.
Yep.
Yesterday, and I was like, Mop, you want to talk? You want to tell the people about your podcast, or should I? She goes, oh yeah, I'm in my podcast. I was like, yeah. A couple other people were like, yeah, you have a podcast, right? And they're like, oh yeah, I forgot to. And I'm like, we gotta get, that's what you're here for. This is your time to promote. Like, we'll bullshit and everything after, but we promote now and at the end. But yeah, so as Right, yeah, it's it's good. You guys get something out of it. I pay you guys an exposure. Exposure. Hey, yeah, I got your exposure right here, pal. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
That's a new bit character I'm coming.
I like this. I like this payment.
So, as Carize had alluded to, and as many of you who listen to the Dork Side regularly know, I like to find out whether or not my guests have any experience with professional wrestling. Whether I know or not, I will pretend as if I don't, and we go in reverse order. So we're going to start with Michelle. MissMicheleJean, what is your experience with the professional wrestling?
Oh gosh. Well, I think I might have hinted a little bit about it when I mentioned something about Gorilla. I was a huge wrestling fan back in the right before the Attitude Era started, kind of the early mid '90s, and kind of watched wrestling religiously through the '90s, through the Attitude Era, into the Ruthless Aggression Era. And when it seemed like John Cena was winning every other week, I kind of went, you know what? I can kind of predict the show too much right now, so I'm good. I don't really have to do this, and fell off from it. But after getting involved with some folks at the crew, I kind of fell back into watching it a bit again and relearning some stuff and seeing that past mistakes were learned from and improvement there. Previously, my own background in it and reason for knowing terms is that in one time in my life I was a referee for a little indie promotion here in Minneapolis, well, just south of Minneapolis. So I got a lot of behind the stage views of things and how things went down, and it's really an interesting experience, especially when you're watching like WWE or WCW or whatever, and you have a little bit of an idea of a little bit of magic that is occurring behind the curtain, but it's still just as intriguing to watch.
That is true. I did like a week of training. I was like, I want to be a pro wrestler growing up. I realized at 18 that I probably did not want to spend the next 15 years of my life like just falling on my back like 17 to 20 times in a 5-minute match. That I probably was better off doing something else. But still, still loving wrestling. But yeah, I knew. So like the I'm one of those people who got you back into wrestling. We had discussions. Yeah. So you're back and you're not addicted, which is good. You're just following, which is you take a little hit here or there. See what the latest strand is. All that stuff. But no, like I was gonna bring up how like we talked about like we would be in the middle of like a moderation meeting for the crew, and we'd be like, oh my god, let's take like a 5-minute break. Okay, everybody go get water. And I'd be like, oh, I'm still gonna be here. And you're like, hey, so question. And then it turns into a 15-20 minute conversation that just derails all progress. And then we're like, all right, well, let's add an extra 20 to 25 minutes on the end of this meeting here so we can get things done. But yeah, good times all around. And I don't know if I don't think you told me you refereed, which is interesting. That's a little tidbit that I
think you told me that, MJ.
I thought I've shared that before. Yeah, crazy. You knew that.
You might have.
I knew that. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's Did you have a nice fast count? Was your count?
No, you know what?
Or did you have a steady 1-2? Like, were you Earl Hebner? Like you're rotating a full 360 or were you like a little bit of Pee Wee Anderson? It's a little 1, 2, 3.
I had a little bit of Hebner in there. I mean, okay. Look, when I was of the age of 18 when in the Attitude Era and WCW, they had that one referee that had a bit more personality that could take bumps and everything else, right?
Yep.
I was that referee, so I had a little bit more showsmanship in my counts and whatnot. Or
a little Nick Patrick too. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
All right. I think I don't know if you watch any AEW, but Aubrey Edwards, a little too much for my liking. Very animated, but has that flair of like, I'm the referee, motherfucker. Like, you need to understand that I'm the law. Like, I don't care how big you think you are. Like, I'll throw this match out right fucking now if you don't listen to me. It's like,
I haven't watched any AEW yet, but I'm familiar with who she is. It's interesting to know she does that. That
What is that acronym, you guys?
AEW is All Elite Wrestling. It's a company that launched in 2019. So it's relatively new, and it's excitingly new, and they're doing fresh stuff, and it's I begrudgingly have started to watch it, not because like I didn't want it to succeed. I just didn't like how they were operating as a business. The owner would talk about being very inclusive. Sorry, I don't want to say that he was being inclusive and whatnot. And for the most part, the roster was, except for like the big money spots, which is your main event or your posters, and like their posters are predominantly white dudes. And and I'm like, okay, it's 2021, my guy. Like the other company that you want to compete with, like they're like the most
fully diverse.
Their roster is a diverse roster of different characters, and throughout the show, not just in the undercard. Like the main event has, wrestlers of color, women of color in main event spots, and it's like, come on, like, can you do it? And they're starting to get there, and I'm like, okay, it's about time. So I'll start investing myself, since you are showing that you're like, okay, like there's more to wrestling than just a bunch of shades of orange, orange being the tan of
right.
That's what I've been calling it. But yeah, so that's AEW. Carize.
Yeah.
I'm ready to be shocked. I really am.
You're ready to be shocked?
I'm ready to be shocked, okay? What is your experience with pro wrestling?
This is going to date me for sure, because I think my WWE knowledge is going to go back to like Hulk Hogan era, and who else was there? We had like Andre the Giant, a couple of those classic WWE wrestlers, and obviously I fell into that because it was fun and exciting, and I was a kid and I loved it. But for me, growing up, I was in martial arts for a big portion of my adult life, so I earned 2 black belts, one in taekwondo, one in kabuto, and one in karate goju-ryu. So my focus when it came to fighting and sparring and stuff like that was more in the UFC area. So that's really where, and I get most of my WWE knowledge from you, Grum, and from MJ. Like so that's where I am now. Do I know all the popular faces that are there? Yeah. Do I know maybe a couple of terms? Sure. But here's an interesting fact. I did have an active competition going on with my friends, and I currently hold the mushroom trophy, the coveted mushroom trophy, in my house right now. And I have not yet been beaten by any of my friends in wrestling matches in my backyard. So there we go. That's
reigning.
That's
the reigning mushroom champion.
The reigning mushroom champion. I've got it.
Well, I am honored. That makes you the first champion, the first reigning champion ever on the dork side. This is good.
I'm holding on to it. You want to come at me? Come at me.
Like this is the gauntlet has been thrown down. Watch out! You're gonna have like Khaleesi's milkshake brought everybody to the yard. No, Carize's title is gonna bring everybody to the yard.
Exactly.
But yeah, so it sounds like the golden era, as it's been dubbed. Hogan, Andre the Giant, Macho Man, Ricky the Dragon, Steamboat. So that then begs the question: who was your favorite growing up?
Who was my favorite? Well, Andre the Giant, obviously, followed him into his like acting career and whatnot. I would say actually above all else, it would have been him, just because of his personality, his just him being such a not the same as everybody else who was in there wrestling and doing things a little bit differently, and just his whole life. So that's as far as I go with that one.
Andre's the like whenever like I think of like, well, you can have it all, but you have to have it all type like person.
Yes.
Like he's got fame, fortune, like he's famous. Everybody knows him. He's big.
Funny.
He's funny. He's he's attractive. Like he's
in a giant sort of way. Yeah.
But then he's also just like he's miserable because like he was I was talking about this with Jill and Mop. because we watched a match that featured the Big Show, who at one time was being billed as Andre the Giant's son.
Okay.
Andre the Giant being 7.
I need to see who this guy is. Okay.
I'll send you a picture when we're done. But he's almost a spitting image of him. Like the hair is curly. Like he's not. So basically, like the story is like he had the same condition that Andre the Giant had, that was putting stress on his pituitary gland, but he had it removed at like 18. So like not the pituitary gland, but like it was able so that he can have an actual life where he's not like in constant pain. Whereas like Andre the Giant is before that kind of medicine is even not known. So it's like, hey, by the way, also he was born in fucking France, like a village outside in France. So he's nowhere near like high-end medicine. And he just turns out to be a 7'3", 475-pound monster of a man who's just so kind to everybody, but also like miserable because everything is nothing is fits to him. He'd go on a plane, he'd have to take up 3 rows to himself. And this is before they sardine canned us all. Like it's just it's miserable.
There's a really good documentary out there, and I can't recall what it is, but about his life, and it was.
I think it was
really
the HBO one did a doc on him. I mean, like there's fabled stories of him just drinking cases of beer at a time. Yep. Because back then it's all 8-ounce cans, and they would just fit in his hand like a sippy cup.
Yep.
But yeah, also notorious farter. Like anytime, every story I hear, man could fart up a storm, and you couldn't yell at him because he'd just whoop your ass. It's like, all right, Andre, I'm gonna die here because of your farts, but yeah. But no, that okay. So that's around like late 80s. Okay, all right. So that's about. I'm not great with time when it comes to music. Wrestling is my thing for like just in sense of like, all right, like Cyndi Lauper at WrestleMania 1, 1983. Like girls just want to have fun. Like I think 81. Like that's how I like do all this stuff. So I say this was anybody a fan of Kiss at any point in their life?
Of course. Of course. Yeah. Did I own a T-shirt or did I have a poster on the wall? No, but respect for the band for sure.
What about you there, Michelle? Did you have a T-shirt? Were you painting your face?
No. But so growing up, we had a downstairs for music. We actually had my mom's old 45 record player down there, so we had stacks of 45s. And near the top of the stack that got played a lot was a lot of Kiss singles. So I was pretty familiar with them because of my mother's taste in music growing up. So
so your mom was a fan of Kiss.
Yes.
Big fan of Gene Simmons, I'm assuming.
Clearly. Who else would you...
I forget what I was listening to. I think it was a podcast called Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, and they were talking about Kiss, and they're like, if you just take the makeup off of all the people in Kiss, they're all ugly, but you put the makeup on and they're sex symbols, and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly the whole appeal of them. Like that's why when they took the face paint off, their album sales went down. Like, and then afterwards, people were like, I don't. It's broken for me. I don't ever want to listen to Kiss anymore. They look like old white guys. But yeah, that is to ask because today we're watching something that is very related to Kiss, the band, and Gene Simmons in particular. Michelle, you may know about this, given that this was around your time of a fandom. But 1999, WCW, they get together and they make a deal with Kiss, the band. Kiss is trying to, reach some more people, and well, there's wrestling, and wrestling is hot. Wrestling is the big thing. People love wrestling. They love Stone Cold. They love Goldberg. They love Hollywood Hogan. They love The Rock. They love WWF. They love WCW. And Kiss
WCW, what's that acronym?
World Championship Wrestling. So at the time, they are going head-to-head on Monday nights at the same time, fighting for the same audience with WWE.
Okay.
And for 83 weeks, from 1996 until 1998, they beat WWF in the ratings every week for 83 weeks, which no one thought would happen, but
and what was it that they did that was different?
Just had a better show.
They had a better show. Okay.
They had a better show, and people
better players,
well, not really,
or better wrestlers.
It was the star. They had star attractions, but they also had just stories that were
the production
interesting.
Was really good.
And the New World Order, the NWO was a big thing. Hulk Hogan turned his back on the fans, and so basically,
I remember that. Yeah.
So like everybody's like, "Oh my God, Hogan sucks. He's the worst." Boo! And people would pay to see him lose, which is in wrestling vernacular, heat. You want to see somebody lose. You want the interest. And he was boiling hot, red hot, white hot. And then WWE's like, fuck, man, what are we gonna do? And they're like, like all the workers are like, let us loose, let us plan to do some stuff. What?
Hold on. With his creative control, did he actually ever lose matches though? I mean, it's Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan lost. He did no. He lost matches. When they booked him to lose matches, as long as there was a plan. Like he lost to Lex Luger on free television, so that there was interest in him winning so there was interest in the pay-per-view the following Sunday. Because it had been a year that he was a title holder, and they're like, oh my God, like we got to do something here that like keeps it hot until December. And they're like, well, why don't we have him lose the title? And he's like, all right, what's the plan? He goes, you'll get it right back. Don't worry. like And he was like, that's fine. And multiple people have been on record is like, as long as we had the title back by October, we're all good, because that, the story can go where it was supposed to go. So WCW, that's at 1997, 98. They create Goldberg, who is a sensation. He's this big, muscly former football player that just steamrolls people. And in 1999, the wheels are starting to fall off a little bit on the company. WCW is owned by Turner Sports, which is Ted Turner, which is CNN and whatnot. And Turner Broadcasting gets bought out by AOL, the online company, which is wild to think about. And then AOL and Time Warner merge, thus WCW is now going from one company to an entirely different company and all this stuff.
Different mission statement,
Correct. So, at the very same time, the president of WCW, Eric Bischoff, is trying to make money. And he's got plans. He's thinking long term. He's going, hey, it's 1999. Let's do a pay-per-view on New Year's Eve. It's on a Sunday this year. Let's do a pay-per-view. We'll call it Countdown or End of Times or something like this, right? Where the idea is no one knows what's going to happen at midnight. The idea is the pay-per-view ends at midnight, goes to black, and that's it, because of the Y2K scare going on. I don't remember this. I was a youngin'. So I just hear stories about the Y2K bug, which is just funny to think about nowadays, because people are just freaking out.
It was hilarious. It was amazing. That was my favorite New Year's, I think.
But yeah, so he wanted to do this, and a part of this, he wanted to do a KISS. He wanted to basically get a football stadium. No, he wanted to have a KISS concert. He wanted to have a concert being headlined by KISS. So he wanted half the stadium to be the professional wrestling show, and the other half to be the concert. Because this way they would fill the 4 or 5 hours of airtime and just time in general, where you go there at 7:00. It's a New Year's Eve party. We get covered, and the final, KISS would play. Then you go to the main event, and the main event would go, and then the pay-per-view would go off at midnight, and bang, right? Great idea. Great thought process. Sounds like a lot of fun. Eric Bischoff gets fired in September. Not before he's able to make that deal with KISS, though. So he had signed WCW and KISS signed a deal to do the pay-per-view and create a stable of wrestlers called the Warriors of KISS. And it would start with the KISS demon himself. And I'm going to show the two of you the debut of the KISS demon and the contractual main event that was put into the contract to license Kiss on WWE or WCW television, part of it was they had to have a main event match with the Kiss Demon on a pay-per-view within a calendar year of the contract being signed. WCW found a workaround by calling a regular match on a pay-per-view a special main event. So technically, they fulfilled the contractual obligation that they had no interest in actually giving a fuck about.
Fulfilling. Okay.
So, we're going to watch that. If
Right.
there is a YouTube link that I will put in the description, because unfortunately, the Peacock Network does not have the Kiss Demon debut on the Peacock Network, but we will watch from Super Brawl 10 to Super Brawl 2000. It is the match between the Kiss Demon and The Wall, and we're going to be starting that at 38 minutes and 24 seconds, Season 10, Episode 1 of Super Brawl on the Peacock Network. We'll be right back here on the Dork Side of the Ring podcast. Macho Grim, yeah. Here, I'll tell you about all the fun little places that you can find the Dork Side outside of the actual podcasting feed. Yeah, you can find us at twitter.com, Dorkside Ring, yeah. At Dorkside Ring on Twitter, Dorkside Ring Instagram, yeah, tell your friends to follow along with us on social media, yeah. Let me tell you a little bit something right now. Best way to tell us about ideas is via those movies, yeah. That's right, the Dork Side of the Ring, Twitter and Instagram. That's the best way to suggest some future topics, yeah. Also, you go to the Patreon, yeah, you can support us more with the financial power, yeah. Like a elbow drop onto the heart of a champion. Yeah, that's what you can do with your money. Yeah, if you so choose, Dork Side of the Ring, you can find us support.grum.tv, Let me tell you something, there's good stuff there the entire month of November. Everything posted there will be free. That means the videos that you can see, at the elite tier, yeah, you can get that. The elite of the elite tier, exclusive episodes, yeah, you can also get some YouTube credits and stuff like that, yeah, for free, yes, that's right, you can do that right there on support.drum.tv, yeah, wondering what's over there, yeah, well, take a listen to this, yeah, look at these guys, those denim shorts, dude, the denim shorts that man is wearing are so high, they're Nike athletic short high.
He's ahead of the time. That's the 5-inch inseam right there.
That man was ahead of the time, but also woefully in the past at the same time.
Man was wearing the Daisy Dukes. The guys, could you imagine? There's Tank Abbott. Tank Abbott,
boy.
Baby.
Oh boy.
What?
Oh god.
And now we get into.
What?
Yes, that's right there. Preview of what you can get over at support.grum.tv. Yeah, that's right, support.grum.tv. For free, you can keep doing the listen, telling the people if you want to do a little bit more, like, maybe an atomic drop. Yeah, drop the atomic 5-star review. Yeah, the Apple podcasting feed from this very podcast. Yeah, that's right, we'll read those 5-star reviews. Hear me, Dusty Rhodes. Maybe even Tigrum himself. Yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah. Remember, yeah, that the podcast is, without a doubt, too sweet to be sour, the Tower of Power. Yeah. And there can't be anybody to stop us when we work together. Yeah. You and me, listener of the Dork Side of the Ring. Yeah. Put it there. Yeah. Dig it. So that was the Kiss Demon. So we're back here on the Dork Side, and We watched the debut of the Kiss Demon in August of '99, and watched his special main event from Super Brawl 2000. And I have to ask, first thoughts, first impressions.
Short-lived. I think he could have went a lot further than he did. I think he gave up too early. I'm not too sure even how that turned around so quickly. I think he had it in the whatever round. It was all one round, but just before he actually got launched off the ropes and down for the 3 count, I think he could have had it.
Could have. He probably should have.
He should have. But
unfortunately, he didn't have the stuff to get over the wall.
And clearly he needed a ladder.
He was completely numb.
Yeah.
You know, I think I was viewing the match a little differently because I was definitely looking for the story in that match, and I think I lost it somewhere in there. The Wall clearly supposed to be the heel in it, but I felt like I was rooting for the Wall the entire time.
No, but you maybe were the only person rooting for the Wall, but you could have also been the only person. I think Carize was the only person rooting for the Demon in that match. So
yeah. Well, I think he was definitely having problems with his corset. I think maybe that's what took him down ultimately.
That's true. That is true. He did have a.
I blame wardrobe.
Right, get a better fitting corset. You know.
Clearly should have been in the entrance ring attire, and that's it. After you got to ringside, you just take that thing off.
Guys, he had the Wall over his head for a good period of time there before he slammed him on his neck head. So should have. He had it.
How the Wall didn't die is beyond me.
Right.
Oh,
why didn't he hop on him at that point? Like, what was the delay there? Explain to me. Why did he just watch him?
Inexperience. He was too busy trying to. I mean, he's a demon. Carize, like, does a demon care about winning?
I don't know. I don't know if I've met one yet. Maybe.
I mean, I don't know many demons.
When you pose it that way,
I would jump all over the Wall at that point. I'll tell you that. Get him into some kind of submission. Oh man.
The only demons I know that are actively trying to win are my own demons. But yeah, no. All right, that joke just makes me laugh. Then fine, I'll
think.
Yeah, that's fine. It's great. So Michelle, what about you? Other than the trying to follow the story of the match, what did you think of the Kiss Demon? Have you seen the Kiss Demon before?
I heard of it. So by the end of '99, going into 2000, at that point, I had just given up on WCW, and I was primarily watching WWF TV at the time, especially with what they had going on over on that television. So I was familiar with it because I had friends that watched WCW, and they talked about the Kiss Demon or whatever. And was like, I remember this would have been, teenage me been like, sure, you know what, go ahead and root for that. That just sounds like a gimmick that they're trying to really use to put something over, because Vince is kind of crushing them right now. Mm-hmm. And so I had only heard of it, so this was actually fresh for me to watch. The debut was great. I think the debut was done really well. The reveal and everything, especially with the live performance, that was great.
You can't go wrong with a live rendition of God of Thunder.
Yeah,
you said you had goosebumps, Carize.
Yes, I did, and I have no idea what was going on.
Right,
it was good.
So imagine being out in the crowd, not knowing exactly what's going on. You just have this live performance, and all of a sudden you have a new unveil and you're just like, "What's going on here?"
This guy's going places,
right?
But no, he didn't. He just ended up on the mat for a 3 count.
Several times.
My God.
He had
several times.
He had a bunch of matches between his debut and that match, but he just ended up losing. What
do you think? Was it a decision by like promoters and stuff? Like, this is going to be really hard to make something of him, because like Jean said that there wasn't really a story. I didn't know what the rivalry between the Wall and this new guy was. Right?
There wasn't. So
okay.
This match was simply a contract fulfillment. WCW, when they got the rights to use God of Thunder, call it the Kiss Demon, all this stuff in the contract, one of their things that they also promised Kiss the band was that the Kiss demon or the wrestlers associated with Kiss. So like whatever warriors of Kiss were going to be, but ended up just being just the demon. Would get a main event match at a pay-per-view. So they were like, well, they were slightly threatened. I think they were strongly suggested to, fulfill the contract. Otherwise, Kiss would have them over a barrel.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
So that match was the 4th match of the night.
No, it's like a part of me is just wondering, like, because of who they signed to be the Kiss Demon. I'm unfamiliar with who it was, but wasn't it right around that same time that Dustin Runnels ended up back at WCW?
Yes.
And they used the 7 gimmick. Imagine instead of using the 7 gimmick, they used Dustin Runnels as the Kiss Demon.
That would have
been so much better.
It would have been, but we are going to talk about that because the guy who portrays the Kiss Demon, whose gimmick it was not the first guy chosen to do it. The original guy was a wrestler by the name of Bryan Adams, who was better known. Better, not the
Canadians, no,
not the Canadian. No. Very different Bryan Adams, Carize. But more musical connections to the Kiss Demon. We had going up against the wall, Pink Floyd. Now Bryan Adams, wrestler was known. He was better known in WWE as Crush. A member of Demolition, who they were like, hey, look, you used to do this whole BDSM leather chaps thing before. Now with face paint, do it again, but with Kiss. And he's like, I think he was the guy who debuted. I'm pretty sure and they were like, good to go. Ahead. And he was like, I don't want to do it.
Man,
right.
That could have gone over so much better too.
It's where all the rights are sitting. So I can imagine that would be a logistic nightmare as far as like who's going to make the profits here if you're using somebody else's image, which would be Kiss. They're obviously going to have some kind of say or cut in that. So it's much easier just to come up with an original character, cut that out right away so that you don't have any obligations to that contract.
Well, so the person who oversaw the contract had a plan. He was going to have a stable. He was going to have a group. Basically, every member of Kiss would have a corresponding member. So you'd have all the face paint would be represented, and they'd be the warriors of Kiss, and they probably have they would probably have had the main event of that New Year's Eve pay-per-view. But the guy Eric Bischoff was the guy who oversaw and agreed to the contract. He was the president of WCW, and he was at his wit's end, and they were like, "What's wrong with you?" He goes, "You're my problem." Like his bosses asked him, "What's going on? Why are you so ornery? What's going on?" He's like, "You are. I'm being pulled in 7 different directions. You guys don't care about professional. You don't care about WCW. Like, you don't even know when does Monday Nitro air?" And they're like, Wednesday.
Something, yeah.
It's like, it's literally in the title of the show. It is called Monday Nitro, and you don't know if it's what day it airs on? Like, what kind of business are you where you've acquired an asset and you know nothing about it? So he got very loud, and they were like, "You're fired." And he's like, "You can't fire me." Or no, what they did was they sent him home, and they and it was like some clause where like they had to pay him to the duration of the contract he was signed, or they had to outright fire him, which he would then collect a good amount of the money. But they couldn't. But they were in this weird spot where, like, a couple months later,
what's the best way?
They want him to come back, and he goes, "You have to pay me out of this contract. Like, you don't. I can't come. I'm not coming back unless you pay me more, because I can make all this money staying at home." Because they basically fired him without actually they put him on a retainer basically so that nobody else could get him, which is doesn't it like logically kind
in the basement with a stapler. Yeah,
it's like it logically it works, but at the same time like you're already losing to WWE. Like, they're already smacking you around. Like, you're clearly also not concerned about that, because otherwise you would have kept the guy who was beating WWE around. So basically, he had all this planned out, and he gets fired. Gets sent home. Can't work no more. And they're like, the people they put in charge, it's not their deal. They don't give a fuck. The people who replace him are vaguely interested in the product. They go and get Vince Russo, who worked underneath Vince McMahon, and was the guy who they were sold on was the key to Vince McMahon's winning. If you get that guy, and his friend will win, because he's the one that's making Vince money, so that he'll make us money, not knowing that Vince McMahon is the reason why Vince McMahon makes money, not Vince Russo. So they were not happy about that. It's just a whole bunch of corporate bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, bureaucratic bullshit gets involved, and it ruins what could have been a fun, like, you know, it a lot of people like harp on it nowadays because like nobody would have enjoyed it. It's like no. It would have been fun because
it was managed poorly.
It came in hot. I mean, you start with a Kiss, and like Kiss was behind it, which means if Kiss is behind it, they're going to promote it, and that's a great thing for the company. So the guy they end up getting to replace Bryan Adams, not the singer, not the singer.
He is a Canadian treasure, sir.
Not this one. This one is an American convicted supplement abuser.
Okay.
Basically, he got involved with steroids and like selling steroids and distributing steroids without like the proper like licenses and shit. So he's a felon, not Canadian Bryan Adams at all. But they ended up replacing him with a wrestler who they had on the roster who was going by the name of MVP. And his whole gimmick is that he's a baseball player. He'd actually had like his face painted as like a baseball once or twice. And because the guy who they did it was Dale Torberg, who was actually
the bat.
What?
The bat, the baseball bat. Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna laugh at my own joke. Okay.
Look, it's all right. I did too. Dale Torberg, who played baseball and he was playing professional baseball, and then he took a fastball to the face, which basically made his depth perception like irreversibly damaged.
Ugh.
Yeah, so he ended up getting into wrestling a couple years later, and ends up being named the Kiss Demon, and he's like all excited and everything, as one should, because like, hey man, like you're just a guy, and now you get to basically be associated with Kiss. Like Kiss was saying, like they would bring them on stage at concerts whenever they could, but the guy, you know, he said he was trying to make it work, and things like didn't work. And Dale Torberg, just likes to work out. Like as you could see, the guy was in great shape.
Sure, yeah.
But he claims that what we thought was a good little debut of the the concert. He felt that was actually the worst thing that they could have done for his character. Because he just like, look, clearly nobody liked it. It is the lowest rated segment of WCW Nitro, and it's like that's not the reason why. Like that's not like that's probably like it might be because like I want to watch wrestling. I don't want to watch a Kiss concert. But at the same time,
right.
like it's probably
you get hyped
true. But that's not even true. Hold on. How many times did McMahon have someone on stage doing a live performance of something? McMahon make that work all the time,
but never
had nothing to do with it.
Well, so in Dale Torberg's defense, it didn't happen like at the very like they literally did everything else that night, and they were the last 15 minutes of Monday Nitro that night was the Kiss concert,
right? But
like also the lead in to that segment was Hulk Hogan versus Sting again, and people are like, I don't want to watch this. Like, so not especially not at the same time as I assume in '99 Stone Cold still wrestling. I forget what the main event. Oh, that I think at the same time of that event, Jesse the Body Ventura is like main eventing, or is on the governor of Minnesota, former governor of Minnesota, Jesse the Body Ventura. Sorry, Michelle.
That was the night after SummerSlam. Oh my God! Whoa, I know what night that is.
And he was the special guest referee because the night before they're in Minnesota while he is the governor, and they're like, "Hey, can you be the special guest referee?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
So people are very excited about that.
Okay, since that was the night after SummerSlam, I mean, not only did they have to contend with that, but they also had to contend with the fact that there was a rematch between Mankind and Triple H over on the USA Network with Raw. I mean, what would you rather watch? Would you rather watch Hogan and Sting 57, or do you want to go watch a rematch from the pay-per-view event the night before where the title's on the line again? I don't know about you. I'd rather watch Triple H and Mankind.
Exactly.
I mean,
MJ just got really excited.
No,
I love it
because it's that's the point. Like what got WCW to the point where they were beating Monday Night Raw was that they were putting on things that people actually wanted to watch, right? So their WCW was going, hey, what do wrestling fans want to watch? They don't want to watch, a hockey player turned professional wrestler. Like his whole gimmick is that he's a hockey player named the Goon. They don't want to see an evil version of Santa Claus called Santa Claus, but spelled with an X. Like they don't want to see these kiddie things. They want like a more, realistic and less insulting creative presentation.
Yeah.
And now it's like, hey, this guy is not only is he a demon who came out of he's a rock band's demon. And it's like, it could have worked. It absolutely could have worked. There's a way to do it. I think the concert as the debut, it was cool. I don't know if I might agree a little bit with Dale Torberg in that it was not the best way, but he's like, yeah, it was dead on arrival, and it's like, no, it was not dead on arrival. Like, it was dead on like the next 2 weeks when like he's like losing to Terry Funk, like that. Yeah, that's when it's a problem.
Well, I mean, Terry Funk is not exactly a jobber, but I mean, I think
he was a 57-year-old man who was like, I'm gonna retire when I want to retire. You ain't sucking dog.
I think there's some timing involved in it, though, right? Because Carize mentioned I got excited. That SummerSlam, like that was. I mean, I was excited because it was in Minneapolis. I went to that SummerSlam. I was in the 4th row. You can actually see me in the 4th row of that event.
You're gonna have to take a screenshot of.
We're gonna have to. Okay.
You're gonna have to research this.
So I was there, but. So I'm especially excited because of that. But for me, of course, I wouldn't watch Nitro the next night because I just was at SummerSlam. I'm gonna want to watch Raw the next night after a pay-per-view because Monday Night Raw after a pay-per-view tends to be pretty decent. Something tends to happen that you want to watch.
You got that follow-up from the night before.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's I love. But so now I'm going to be sitting here. I'm like, all right, future Dorkside. I'm writing it down now. Future Dorkside episode. Just the entire SummerSlam with Michelle. We're just gonna like that'll be something like that. I just do on the Patreon. That's like exclusive. Like we're just gonna watch along.
Great idea.
And basically be like, all right, we're gonna point out every time Michelle is on. There I am. There you are. 4th row, camera side too, huh? Wow, that's a tough ticket to get. That's a good ticket to get.
It's you have to know where to look for me, right? But I do show up on camera because it's the I forget what the center stage camera is that always had the camera or the ring cropped in proper. But my cousin and I who were there were directly behind the ring post. So whenever you had an angled shot that was looking back on that part of the crowd, you could see me, but not from the
hard cam.
Yeah, not from the hard cam.
Interesting.
Well, that's good. So The man behind the paint, the
Yes.
wrestler who played the demon, did you follow his career at all
So-
after that happened? Did he continue
wasn't-
on in any?
So there wasn't much of a career afterwards. So
Oh,
after that match, he kind of just gets rebranded as the Demon. He loses some match. He helps guys look better because he's a big body. So if you're beating up a big guy, it looks good for you. And then he joins Vampiro and the Insane Clown Posse.
Oh God.
okay.
In the
Okay.
Dark Carnival is the name of ended up being the name of the stable. So he went from being associated with Kiss, a black and white face painted musical group, to being associated with the Insane Clown Posse,
With a face painted.
who's black and white face painted. So not a lot of character growth, if you ask me.
Sidestepping.
Yeah, he's a lateral move, if anything, Nothing wrong with the lateral move. Sometimes you got to move to a different company, laterally and be fine. But that's not the case here. He was still technically the same company. But he goes from that, and he's kind of like their big bad guy, like big body, like bodyguard type guy. But ends up like turning against the group and getting beat up. And then when WCW was bought by WWE in 2001, he's like, I'm going to go be a baseball coach. And that's all he does now. He's a baseball coach.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just Googling him right now.
Dale Torberg.
I can also got him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't realize that he was also the wrestler behind MVP, which, having revealed that information, that makes a lot of sense because I believe I knew that MVP was previously a baseball player, and which is why that was his gimmick. Which
not to be confused with current day MVP, two different people, very different people. Montel Montero. Yeah.
Current MVP is solid, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember. All these connections, I'm remembering all this stuff now.
It's just just unlocking stuff. So, the match itself, we talked a lot about the debut, but the match itself against the Wall at Super Brawl was just kind of thrown together to fulfill the contract that we were talking about. He comes out, he's got his entrance. It's still kick-ass. It's still a pretty cool entrance. The casket comes out, it raises, he walks out, he's spewing blood from his mouth, or as Carize pointed out, food coloring. Which they then correct. That might be blood.
It might be.
That might be blood. I don't want to say it's not blood. I would hate to find out if it actually is blood.
Liabilities. Yeah.
Which
was that Heenan that did course correction and was like no, that could be blood.
So Heenan at this point is not on pay-per-views. That was Mark Madden, Pittsburgh sports announcer, who I believe is garbage. Not believe. I know he's garbage, but that's for different reasons. He's just not a good. He's not a good play-by-play or color commentator. I've yelled at him on Twitter to get blocked, so I don't know what he's up to these days.
Okay.
I assume he's still pissing and moaning about the Penguins in Pittsburgh, I guess. I don't know. Bobby the Brain Heenan wasn't on commentary at this point. Most pay-per-views at this point were Tony Schiavone, Mike Tenay, and Mark Madden. Or Mike Tenay, Tony Schiavone, Scott Hudson, and Mark Madden.
See, two of the names are solid names for commentary.
Yes, Scott Hudson's not bad. I wish he didn't get such a bad rap because he color commentated the one WWF backed WCW match, and it was horrible. But I thought he was all right. But yeah, so the match itself happens, goes off. The Wall sneak attacks. I think Carize's favorite wrestler is no longer Andre the Giant. I think it's the Kiss Demon.
I think so. He's got a new fan. He didn't last very long. But,
No.
yeah, I'm on his Wikipedia now. Not lying. I'm
Yeah.
totally
Like I
going through
said,
some stuff.
it's like 3 paragraphs is him as the Kiss team, and that's it. And that might not, I might be over exaggerating. I think it's like 2. Yeah. So they have their match. The Kiss team, the Wall, who previously was the manager for Berlin. That's right. There's a wrestler
the band?
named... No.
Okay.
There's a band named...
God.
Wait, there was a band named Berlin? What the... Okay. No. This Berlin was Berlyn, and it was a wrestler from Germany, formerly known as Alex Wright, who was kind of this disco dance, or this kind of like electric music dancing kind of goofball. Who was a pretty good wrestler. But they rebranded him as this kind of gothic-esque weird dude who had like a cane and like really weird glasses and an even weirder haircut. He was a very weird character. Let's see if I get you a picture to see what Berlin looked like. But he had a bodyguard by the name of The Wall. So it was Berlin and The Wall.
Who was the booker that came up with this?
That would be at this point. I think this was after.
Pink Floyd fan, obviously.
No, this is well, I guess here's what Berlin looked like. I gotta copy it. But he's just a very interesting looking gentleman. Yeah. He had these weird finger things on his fingers. I don't exactly know. He debuts. So Berlin debuts at some point after the Kiss Demon debuts.
Okay.
But between that time, the Wall gets fired or whatnot by Berlin, and it started. They're trying to make him become a thing because he's a big guy who chokeslams people. Like as you saw in the little video before the match, like he's just chokeslamming and beating everybody. The Wall goes nowhere. WCW was a lot of pushing a guy, and if it didn't work instantly, we're not gonna do it anymore.
Yeah.
I also forgot the thing with Berlin. They knew he could speak English, but to get him to be booed, he would say he didn't know. He would speak in German only.
Okay.
And much like as you can assume, the American audience loved it so much that they hated it and booed him relentlessly for not speaking English.
Around that time, yeah, that checks out quite a bit. You know, I'm surprised that with this whole Wall in Berlin that when there was separation of that particular duo, there was some comment of winds of change. Because why not continue with the music references?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there was any more. I think that it's obviously like I think it's a double reference because there is the Berlin and the Wall, right? Like music wise, but there's the very obvious one that I keep getting hung up on, which is the Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
In '99, the Berlin Wall hasn't been a thing for almost a decade at this point, and they're like, you know what's topical?
Resurrection. Yeah.
Let's bring
that's
back
why.
the Berlin Wall.
That's why I said because the winds of change was about the Berlin Wall coming down, right? So
absolutely.
There you go.
It's just like they were like they were in the creative room. All right, so we're gonna call him Berlin. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so we call him Berlin. Hey, what if we get him a big bodyguard? Yeah, he's as big as a wall. Yeah.
Oh my
We'll call him the Berlin. Hey, how about we call him the Berlin Wall? No. Shh. He does like he puts his finger on the guy's lips. Shh. We just call him the Wall. So it's Berlin and the Wall. They won't. It's not heavy-handed. They won't.
Ticket sales are going to be crazy.
I'm so smart. Meanwhile, it's just like that's how he's visualizing the conversation going in his head as he's telling it. Meanwhile, he's just high on cocaine and drooling. He's like, "What about the Berlin Wall?" It's like, yeah, no,
gimmicks like that though, and names like that though, is exactly why the WWF had such a hard time in the early mid '90s. It was gimmicks exactly like that. Why would they?
They had Mantar. You remember Mantar?
I remember Mantar.
Yeah.
Sounds like a He-Man character.
Kind of.
He was half man, half bull. But
Okay.
like, you know how the Minotaur is like a half man, half bull?
Yeah.
Right? All right, so Mantar's the other way around. He's a bull on top, human on the bottom.
Got it. Okay.
That's a future Dork Side episode.
Mantar.
There was the Goon, who was a hockey player that was so violent, he got kicked out of every hockey league he ever played in.
Yep.
That was an episode we did. Me, Rob, and Citra, or not me, Rob, and Citra. Me, Rob, and Empire did that episode. It was like episode 4 or 5. If you would like to go check it out, it's fun because those two tell great stories about
I'm digging back. Yeah.
youth hockey in Canada.
I enjoyed listening to that episode.
It was a good episode, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What other? They had T.L. Hopper, who was a plumber.
Duke the Dumpster Drosy, Adam Bomb.
Adam Bomb. Whoa. Okay, here, hold on. I will defend Adam Bomb. Okay.
Okay. I suppose he's more of one of the natural disaster wrestling names, right?
Like, yeah, they had Typhoon. Exactly, right? They had Typhoon and Earthquake, and people loved them because so it's one of those things of like sometimes it does work if the stories around them make sense, like Earthquake.
And if they're topical, if it's yeah.
So like the Atom Bomb isn't necessarily topical in 1994, but like also like his name was Adam, and he was the bomb, so he was Adam Bomb. Plus, he just had like I am a sucker for a big man who can kind of put together a wrestling match, and Brian Clark could do that. The Wall and Dale Torberg could not. No. To borrow the phrase from current WWE champion. And forever WWE champion, Big E. I'm a big fan of big meaty men slapping meat. Yeah, I don't need 6-star matches. I just, give me a bunch of Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. I'm good with it. But yeah, so I will defend Adam Bomb. I thought. Plus, he also came out with like Nerf balls that he would like shoot
launch
out
up into the air,
and it's pretty.
Okay.
And it's like, man, like that's a pretty smart thing.
Look, you know what? Here's how I can make Carize a fan of Adam Bomb. What you might actually appreciate, Carize, is the fact that he wore goggles as part of his entrance ring attire. Yep. So right up your aisle.
Yeah, it's Adam, like Adam and Eve.
Okay.
Bomb. He like here, it's right here. This is a great picture.
I'm on it.
He's a big. Look at him. He's a big muscly man. He's got. He's got gloves. He's safe. He's got goggles and gloves. He's ocean.
He does look like he just stepped out of the ocean. But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's totally okay. Yeah. And now, sure, when he goes to WCW, he becomes Wraith, and it's a lot more fun. But then also, Wraith is kind of like ends up being like a Mortal Kombat knockoff character.
Along with Glacier, right?
And Mortis, yep. But yeah, so the Atom Bomb, a lot of fun. I will defend Atom Bomb, but the rest of the overly cartoonish WWE gimmicks in the mid 90s did not help.
No.
Duke the Dumpster Drosy might have been the most successful one.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean,
either him or unless you want to count
Jobber.
Unless you want to count like Henry O. Godwin.
Well, that was because he also had Phineas Godwin and
Phineas
I. Godwin. Excuse me.
Yes, that's right. Their initials were Hog and Pig.
Yeah.
And they were hog farmers. They're pig farmers.
I'm Googling this stuff as we go here.
Carize is just getting thrown in the deep end.
Oh, he was a garbage man. Okay.
Yeah. That's why they called him the dumpster. He'd come out with a trash can and would clang on his trash can to get people to start clapping with him.
Yeah, he also had oh gosh, who was their manager that they had too?
Who? Who? The Godwins?
Godwin's.
They had Hillbilly Jim.
It was Hillbilly Jim. That's right.
Hillbilly. They also had Sonny at one point.
Yep.
But they were doing the thing with Sonny. They also had Sonny and Skip and Sonny, who were 80s.
Body Donnas.
The Body Donnas. They were 80s aerobic instructor gimmicks. Like straight from the 80s. It was hilarious.
Okay, some of those. Well,
leg warmers and everything.
Almost like maybe like function. They were that, but if you made them like a little bit more functional to wrestle in, like the leg warmers aren't necessarily functional in a wrestling ring, but they wore bright colors and matching unitards. So headbands.
They had that. I mean, you talk about that era of wrestling, then you also had like the smoking guns, which
smoking guns. They got they got over. People enjoyed them.
They were over. There's no denying that they were over, but
they were two handsome cowboys at like the peak of like at a time when like country western was starting to become a national thing.
Right.
Like they were definitely riding the whole Toby Keith and Toby Keith like appeal. They had the mustaches, the cowboy hats.
I mean, with Double J, of course. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't pair that.
It's a different. Together. Well, yeah, that Double J was the entire opposite way of that. They're like, well, this guy is a country music star, and he's just like, they're like, but he doesn't sing. Well, look, With My Baby Tonight is an absolute banger. I love that. All right, it's a great song. Spend my days working hard on the road, but the clock keeps turning too slow. I can't wait to be at home with my baby tonight. It's such a good song. My baby's got me wrapped around her little finger. I'll do anything to be with her.
Down this rabbit hole of things, and an image just popped up on my screen that shows wrestlers throughout the last 3 decades. I see Mike Tyson in the middle of there. Is this a thing that happened at some point?
Yes.
What?
So,
okay.
Well, many times.
Many times? Okay.
Many times. Multiple decades. So, Mike Tyson in 1998 is coming off of his being in jail for a rape conviction.
His incarceration. Right. Yep.
Which he claims, I've done a lot of things that I should have gone to jail for. That wasn't one of them. All I know is that he was found guilty. But he went to jail. He comes out. And he's still Mike Tyson, so he's still got name. But nobody really wants to get him, like, give him a shot. Ring. Yeah, because they're like, dude, you're a convicted rapist. And Vince McMahon, owner of Hell, currently renting it out to the devil himself, goes, he's like, because there was a rumor that Vince McMahon wanted to get into boxing promoting. And he was going to be the guy that gets Mike Tyson back in the boxing ring. But he needed to do so. He felt that he had to get Mike Tyson away from being in jail and associated with a good thing. So they get Mike Tyson, and he shows up at the Royal Rumble 1998. At the same time, Stone Cold wins the Royal Rumble 1998. And then very next night on Raw, Mike Tyson and Stone Cold Steve Austin get into it. Why? Because Mike Tyson is the baddest man on the planet, and Stone Cold Steve Austin is the toughest SOB in the World Wrestling Federation. He don't give a fuck that that's Mike Tyson. He's fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin. Mm-hmm. So naturally, that leads to a big event or big showdown throughout the coming months where Mike Tyson aligns himself with the current WWF champion Shawn Michaels and D-Generation X. Who are the bad guys in this story? They are crass. They're degenerates. But that's why they call themselves D-Generation X. And they're very lewd. They're pushing the boundary. They're the WWF's. They're one of WWF's answer to the NWO. So
sounds like my Rainbow Six Siege team. All right.
Yeah, I mean, they at one time. They did a spoof of Bill Clinton's apology, where God. Bill Clinton was like, as I did not have sexual relations with that. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Shawn Michaels comes up on its television, starts his speech the same way to addressing, because apparently the week before they did a whole thing where like USA Network would send them like letters like, hey, you guys can't say this, and they're like, okay, we'll find something else to say. That's fine. There's a lot of ways we can say cock. Like, we'll be all right. So they go, and he's like, USA Network. He's like, they don't want us to imply that, we did this. And he's like, also, there are some other allegations that I had inappropriate relations with an intern. And I'm here to say that I did not have relations with that intern. But then he's like, but I did with a different one, and we were up all night long.
Oh,
and it just turns into this. It just goes into this whole like sophomoric humor, which is at the time, this is like 1997, so it's like the winds of change.
Making humor of it. Yeah,
grunge is a big thing, and the counterculture is a huge fucking thing where everybody's embracing it now. And so that's where Mike Tyson is aligning himself, because Stone Cold is going for the world title at WrestleMania, and Mike Tyson doesn't like Stone Cold. They have their match during the middle of the. Mike Tyson is the special guest ring enforcer, so he's making sure nobody gets involved that shouldn't get involved. The ref goes down, takes a bump, he falls down, he's unconscious. Steve Austin is like yelling at Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's yelling at him. They get in the ring. Mike Tyson counts for Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels doesn't get the win, and Shawn Michaels gets upset. He's like, you gotta count 3, count faster, come on, you're a DX, you help me out. And Mike Tyson, not one to be yelled at by anybody, knocks out, or he just fucking cold cocks Shawn Michaels into Steve Austin, who hits him with a Stone Cold Stunner. 1, 2, 3. Like the worst count. I swear, it's such a bad count, like from a refereeing standpoint. But it doesn't matter, because it's Mike Tyson counting 1, 2, 3 to start the Stone Cold Steve Austin era and basically just ignite the Attitude Era. Yeah. And it is a moment where they capitalized on a guy who needed the WWE just as much as the WWE needed him in Mike Tyson. And by being associated with it, Stone Cold becomes a super mega star. He's flipping the bird at, Vince McMahon. He's flipping the bird at everybody. And it just starts just a momentum swing for WWE. And then like later he would come back as a guest general manager and punch bad guys. The bad, he's like, he'd be at odds with somebody, and he's like, oh, I'm going to book you in a tag team match with this guys, and I'm going to be the referee, and they're like, oh, no, Mike Tyson's the referee. Last time you were the referee, you pinned me to the mat. You counted the 1, 2, 3, and I lost my title. No. And then the bad guys get upset that he's not, playing favorites, so then the bad guy gets knocked out. And then, like, 10 years later, he shows up again to knock out the same guy on a different company. So, yeah, Mike Tyson has been involved in wrestling.
All right.
But it's not, see, like, that's one of the stuff that, like, I put on, like, is that dorky, like, a dork side of the wrestling? Because it's not, because it's, like, objectively cool that a guy as big as him was associated with professional wrestling in such a manner that it helped professional wrestling. Plus, he's also
injected some stuff into it.
He also is a fan of professional. Like, he grew up in New York, and he's like, yeah, I used to watch Bruno Sammartino, baby. I go see Bruno, and he'd be good. I love seeing Bruno. I love seeing SD Jones, and it's like, holy shit, he's naming off jobbers. Like, he legitimately was liking professional wrestling as a kid, which is always good when it like professional wrestling is very similar to streaming. Like,
okay.
So, do you remember how we all felt when, like, Ninja was streaming with, like, Drake and these big name celebrities, and we're like, holy crap, like, the thing that we enjoy streaming is being noticed by the mainstream. Wow, this is pretty cool. That's kind of pro wrestling, where the thing that you enjoy is kind of like this thing that you kind of keep to yourself. You You don't tell people about it. You only tell the people who you know also like it. It's a very black. It's a very like there's guilty pleasures, and then there's professional wrestling for a lot of people for a long time. 'Cause once it was no longer cool to like pro wrestling, it went back to, ew, you watch wrestling? Ew, what are you doing? And it's like, I just like pro wrestling, man. Like, what the fuck did I do? But yeah, it's kind of like that, where it's like, you know, hey, this really weird thing that's hard to explain why I enjoy it to people, or it's hard for other people to understand why I enjoy it. It's very similar to that. There's other similarities as well.
I totally get why you do. Like even just this podcast alone. I've got tabs open on my website right now. I can see where the pull is, the excitement.
Carize is going to message both of us. Michelle, she'll be like, "Did you know about this character? Who is this guy's deal? Who's her deal?" Like, so for some, you know, clarity to the audience, we have a group. I do a group chat with, or, you know, I do these on Discord, group calls on Discord, and Carize sends a screenshot, a screen recording of former WWE Women's Champion, current Women's Tag Team Champion Rhea Ripley, plugging their a promoted tweet plugging WWE podcasts on Spotify, and I'm just like, here we go. Like, Carize is gonna get targeted WWE content.
So I think the interesting thing, especially with this group, and you've had it a few times over too, is how wrestling really, it runs parallel to a lot of the interests that we have. You know, you mentioned streaming. The other thing that has a huge parallel to, and why it really grabbed my attention again, was role play, because all three of us are involved in GTA role play, which I know you previously spoke about in your podcast too. I think the idea of like story arc
creation, like all that kind of stuff.
It's so similar, right? Yeah, especially when you do a show like what we do on, say, Tilly. It's the gimmicks, it's the character creations, it's the
give
story
and
arc.
take.
Yeah, like
give and take.
It's cooperative storytelling. Like, you know, it's simulated violence. It's scripted violence. It's akin to a Hollywood action fight where
it's physically demanding.
The person who wins was written to win. There's been very rare cases where that's not the case. But
Montreal, yes, go on.
I mean, the winner was written to win. It's just not everybody involved knew.
Yes, go on.
But like, you know, we do Grand Theft Auto roleplay for Tilly, and we've done it on like the Crew RP, and that's how we all met. And it's just that it's the give and take, but it's also I know where this story has to go, because I know where they want. Like with roleplay, it's slightly different, because I know where this person wants their story to go. How can I help them get there? Where like wrestling is like, I know where the story has to go, and this is how we have to get there. So there's a little less creative freedom in professional wrestling, but there's still a lot, because there's a lot of ways to get to a single
outcome.
Yeah, like it's like a big umbrella, right? Like if you take two umbrellas and you put them together, and it looks like a hot dog sandwich, right? But the ends are always the ends.
A hot dog sandwich.
Hot dog sandwich, yeah.
Empire would appreciate it.
Yeah, that's why if he's listening, he's gonna say, you called it a sandwich, and I said, yes, in a moment of weakness. Do not judge me.
It's a taco.
But yeah, it's like it is. I talk about it a lot, and I think I also am a sick individual, and I need help. Because I relate wrestling, like a lot of the ideas of wrestling, to a lot of things in real life, which is like, you don't have to like the person you're working with, but you have to work along with them to get paid. Like, damn,
True. To get where you want to go.
Yeah, you know, it's like, hey, like this is where this is what I got. Hey, like, I gotta trust this person that they know what they're doing, and if they drop me on my neck, then I can yell at them, but I can't yell at them because I think they're gonna do it. I gotta wait till they actually do it.
Yeah, gotta watch the movements. Go with the movements.
Exactly, and just being flexible, and
absolutely,
good to go. And like the thing I love about like the one big comparison I love to what we do on Tilly and to like professional wrestling. Obviously, professional wrestling is on average on a larger scale, but the ability to listen to what like your chat or somebody else's chat is doing and they're suggesting and their feedback in the moment, and you're like, we're gonna lean this way because you're enjoying this thing. Let's lean into it a little bit more. Like in professional wrestling, if the fans are enjoying a technical grappling masterpiece,
and you hear it in the crowd,
and they're like, yeah, they're enjoying it. And you're like, okay, we're not going to just start slugging it out now. Like, we're going to keep leaning into it. We're going to start getting crazier. Or, vice versa. If they're not enjoying it, all right, switch it up. We got to, no more dialoguing. Hey, we got a crime. Let's go do a crime. That's the nice thing where it's also, able to listen to the audience.
Parallels are there. Yep.
Yeah. It's wrestling is just like a form of, it's just content creation. When you
it really is,
because you're like,
it really is.
I'm going to tell a story, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, there's always the next one. A little bit more dangerous form, a little bit more risk to your health to be a professional wrestler versus a streamer.
Right.
But yeah. What else? Dry cleaning. The wall. I had notes so that like I'm like, all right, like I had some notes and we started a little bit late, so I'm like,
talk about the dry cleaning.
Well, the wall gets blood on him or food coloring or whatever the fuck it was. I still can't believe that they're like, that's food coloring in his mouth, everybody. It's like,
just so you know, everyone, so we can cover our butts. It's not a real animal.
No, he did not eat a bat. Don't worry. It's like, no one was worried about that, Mark Madden. Nobody.
Yeah.
But if you believe it could be. Just very may well be.
It's like, no one was. It's like it's the person who's like convinced themselves that somebody in roleplay snitched on them or something. And you're like, no, they didn't snitch on you. No, they definitely did. Or in a more grander scale, when somebody's like, I'm sure that they were metagaming. It's like, nope. They right there is the text you telling people about this. Nope, no, they were metagaming. No, I don't know how to tell you this. No, they were not metagaming. Like the fuck. Take your loss, pal. The dry cleaning though. Very unfortunate, but that's the risk you get when wrestling in a button-up shirt.
Right.
Look,
fully white too, just like
Look,
what was he thinking?
I mean, it worked for other wrestlers, right? Like, look at Erwin R. Shyster, right? Like, it worked for him. He had white shirt and suspenders and everything.
Erwin R. Shyster wasn't a he was a tax attorney.
Yes.
He wasn't a server at Bennigan's. That's what like.
But it's not a white shirt that he wore. I mean, that's kind of what I was getting to.
That's true, but like I don't know. I feel like a tax.
You're saying he can afford the tax? Okay,
yeah,
I see what you're saying.
He's not worried about that, right? Like but the wall is a body like a Bennigan's bodyguard. Like he's posted up outside your TGI Fridays or Ruby Tuesdays. You guys got Ruby Tuesdays in Canada?
Yes, I think there's somewhere. I feel like that's the thing.
There's somewhere. I don't know where.
Not too sure where.
I don't know. I was trying to think of Canadian chain like restaurants akin to Friendly's and TGI Fridays, and I'm like,
Denny's.
I think we have a TGI Denny's.
Yeah,
yes,
I was gonna say.
You're totally right.
Yeah, Denny's. I was gonna say Cora's, but Cora's is not exactly the same.
Cora's is big though. Still,
I don't like Cora's. I've gone to the two or three different ones, and it's not. I mean, it's quick and easy, so there's definitely a plus to that. I just go for like pancakes, and they're not good. They leave something to be desired. Fix your shit, Cora. Fix your shit. Your pancakes are thin. I like my pancakes thick and fluffy. Damn it! And the bacon was too crispy,
dude.
Was too crispy.
Just do some OPH.
OPH.
The original Pancake House.
The original Pancake House. I don't think I've ever heard of this before.
IHOP?
Oh,
You guys are making me hungry, though.
What are you talking
That's
about?
for sure.
yeah, you're
Hold on,
talking about pancakes. You're talking about pancakes,
Yeah,
right?
You're talking about what? Original Pancake House? What?
Yes. Yeah, that is also a chain.
In Canada?
I don't
I don't
think
know if
so.
it's in Canada.
I've never
No, I haven't seen it, no.
heard of the original Pancake House.
Huh.
Go look it up.
I'm looking it up.
Most
Now-
likely
now I'm like-
Seaside.
I'm currently looking up fighters who actually had big dry cleaning bills. And I
Dan
stumbled
Grail.
onto Hoist Gracie
Oh,
of the
yeah.
UFC. Him and his gi. Like
Yeah.
that was
Oh.
real blood, friends.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
real blood.
So was whatchamacallit? The demon had real blood. That was real blood from a real bat.
No, I believe that was true. I believe.
Okay, so all right. So the original Pancake House, originally
Yeah.
founded in Portland, Oregon.
Get
There's
out. Okay.
150 of them throughout America and Canada,
Oh, all right.
and Japan and South Korea.
Yeah.
This is okay. The original Pancake is in 28 states with stores in most of the major metropolitan cities.
Cheektowaga. Uh-huh.
The Winnipeg franchisee at one point had only one restaurant, but has recently expanded to run 4 restaurants in the Canadian city under the same name with a similar logo, while continuing to feature some of the chain's specialties, such as the Dutch Baby Pancake and Giant Apple Pancakes.
I'm looking at this right now. How did we end up on this topic? I
We're on the
need
dork-
I need
We're all
pancakes.
hungry.
We're on
I think
the
we're all
Pancakes,
hungry.
yeah.
We're on the dork side of the ring, so we go wherever we go wherever the hell we want to go. There's 2 of them. Nowhere near me. They're all in North Jersey. I'm not going to
Of
North
course.
Jersey. For
How
some-
dare you, MJ? Put this
Yeah.
in our heads.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Oh wait, apparently no, because that's see. This says now it's just like IHOP, and I'm like, I know the IHOP near me. It's closed at 8, I guess. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyways, but yeah, let's. You guys are hungry. I'm sure I interrupted a little bit of some
God.
dinner.
Oh,
Dinner time?
Sourdough flapjacks.
Before we
Oh my
go-
God,
Oh boy,
that's delicious.
yes.
Before we go, just to circle back on the whole wardrobe thing and dry cleaning, you're talking about the little bit of issue that the wall face there.
Yeah.
For comparison, just look up Gangrel.
Yeah.
And,
Dan Grail. How do you
yeah.
spell this?
Gangrel.
Yeah. You want to talk about a dry cleaning bill?
Okay.
Man had a lot of
Oh goodness.
Oh wait, hold
Yeah,
on.
that's
Gangrel,
funny
hold on.
shirt.
Careful. Gangrel now directs porn, so you might get a different result.
Oh
That's right. That's right now.
no,
Yeah.
I got pirate shirts.
Pirate
Dan
shirt
Grail.
vampire. He was
Mhm.
the leader of the brood. He'd come out with a goblet of blood and would honestly, the brood had the best theme song of all time. It's an entrance. So basically, Carize, their whole aesthetic is that they're like new age vampires.
Okay.
So like this is like 98, 99, and they had sunglasses and they had mesh shirts and they had like leather jackets and they, incredibly white teeth. And the lights would go red and they would rise up from a ring of fire with this just like incredibly hard-hitting like synth rock little thing. I'm not good with music genres.
Okay.
But it's
Lots
worth
of
checking out.
fluorescence. Okay.
Yeah. And they would walk out and they would just be like they would just be bopping along with the music, laughing, and then Gangrel with his goblet of blood would take a sip and then spit it into the air.
I'm
Obviously-
seeing this. I'm seeing these images. Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then occasionally they would bloodbath people, which meant they would drop blood or a blood-like substance from the roof of an arena into the ring.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like getting slimed, but it's a little less thick and red.
Right. A lot more horrific. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very Carrie. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Huh.
The a lot of fun. The 90s were a weird time because like the start of the 90s and the end of the 90s are just incredibly different for professional wrestling.
Right.
You have a man having his penis chopped off by a vengeful man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, luckily for the man, it was cold, so he didn't.
They were able to.
He was able to shrink it back.
Right.
Choppy, go pee. Yep, I remember that.
You had a man who was a sexual addict fall in love with a sex crazy grandma.
Okay.
Impregnate her and watch her give birth to a hand.
To a hand.
Just a hand.
Yep.
Just a hand.
Just a hand.
Mm-hmm.
This feels like it's a whole other even area of wrestling.
It's all at the same time of when wrestling is considered the best time to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah. But you also had fantastic wrestlers like, Bret Hart and Owen Hart and
just
Steve
looking
Austin,
at Jake
Triple
the
H,
Snake right now. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You had what other? There's a lot. You had Big Boss Man drag the Big Show's father's casket off of his through a cemetery. Also, the Big Boss Man feeding a man his dog.
You had Triple H drugging a woman, having her unconscious, and then going through a drive-through chapel
and marrying her. Yeah, those are ones where I'm like, I want to do a dork side, but it's also like the implication that it's not implied at all. Like he drugged her, and she unconsciously was married to a man. Like that's illegal and problematic. But on the scale of problematic,
it was a story that happened. It was something that was created at that time. That
correct. It's just like I want to make sure if I'm going, because the dork side we make fun of things right here. So it's like I want to make fun of it, but with respect to the idea of like this is a topic that's might not need to be joked about. Like there's one an angle where a man who in 2004, so this is the time I'm giving you. Who was vying to be the greatest American of all time, 2004, went and would patrol the Texas and the American-Mexico border in Texas, searching for illegal immigrants.
Oh, God, yep.
And then he would just beat the fuck out of them and send them back over Mexico, and he would claim that he was doing a great deed for the American country, when it's like, oh boy. There was also the time where WWE had 3 Hispanic wrestlers called the Mexicools who would come out on Juan Deers.
Yep. Well, just the Guerreros with the whole lie, cheat, and steal thing. I mean, they played it up and made it very entertaining, right? It's
a little different. Like, it's not as ham-fisted, right? Also, they made it entertaining. So it's just like, okay, like...
Eddie and Chavo made that very entertaining, but...
You also had Crime Time, who were 2 black guys who just stole. Like, their whole gimmick was that they would steal and sell people's stuff. Very entertaining stuff to do.
Right. And they were taking topics that would actually gather interest or somebody to say, yeah, that's a relevant or whatever. Yeah,
it is like it's just like it's definitely stuff that would
the views. What's gonna get people talking, or
and
it's gonna get people hating, or because all of that is attention, and it's.
I mean, there was and like WWE has done it in the past but like it's also like, for example, they had an entire characters whose entire shtick was that they were of Arabic descent. They were from Detroit. They were born and raised in Detroit. Their families were born and raised from Detroit.
Yeah.
But 9/11 happens, and now they're the bad guy because his last name's Hassan. And it's one of these things that are like, all right, that's a smart story you can tell. What do you do with this? And it's like, oh, he ends up leading a group of men who are looking like mass terrorists. Ooh. So
the same week as the London bombing, no less.
On a tape show that they could. So it's like you had something, but then you just decided
changed because of world events.
No, not even. Like they just decided to tell the story where this guy is like, I'm not a terrorist. Yes, I am. My last name is my name's Muhammad Hassan. I'm American, but you decide that because I look like this guy that you profile me to be a terrorist, and then basically he was presented as a bad guy for being like, I'm American. Stop treating me like a fucking terrorist, you dickheads. And they're like, boo, shut up, USA. And it's like, why are you booing the guy from who's American? But because his name is like, it's a very like wrestling fans are also kind of like
that's
at
the
fault
structure
here.
of wrestling, right? But the structure of wrestling, isn't it like a good guy versus evil guy? There's always like there's got to be like true evil versus like super good, right?
Which is that creates the question and prompts the question of like, okay, what makes a guy who just wants to not be treated like a terrorist
right
a bad guy? And it's like all he's telling you is that I'm American, and then 9/11 happened, and now I'm treated differently because of 9/11.
Well,
I didn't do anything.
It's always been a thing. You know?
Like, yeah. And that's the thing is like they tried to remix it, right? Because normally it's just like here's the Japanese wrestler in 1940, 1950, like boo him. Here's the German wrestler. Here's the Russians. God, they still to this day get like heat by just making a wrestler who's from Russia.
Oh, sure. Look at like Rusev.
It's just like one of these things of like, wow, you know, grandma not the grandma. That's not no. So that's her friend.
Okay.
That's her friend, Fabulous Moolah, who is a legit was a bad human being.
Okay.
But her friend, Mae Young, who from all accounts, not a bad person. But Mae Young was the incredibly horny grandma. Okay. Yeah, spelled like that. But yeah, well, it's just wrestling is a very complicated. Gets complicated for no reason. That's why I always try to say wrestling is better when no one's taking it seriously. Because
exactly. And it's really easy. It was really easy for fans to do that. I mean, you talk about that nationalism thing to a more comedic level, but it still happened. You go back to the Attitude Era in '97. Look at I'm associated with Hearts a lot, right? Look at the Brett story in '97.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's a hell of a story. Where they blur the line between reality and fiction.
Right.
And to a point where they're almost not blending it at all. Like,
oh gosh,
where he's like, I legitimately hate Americans. It's like, what? Why? What did we do? What? And it's just like, because looking back, like, you're just like, why did you hate you hated Americans because Shawn Michaels was a dickhead and people liked him? Okay, I get. It's like it would make sense to be pro Canada. You're literally a Canadian legend. But like he's like, yeah, fuck America. And I'm like, well, hold on, Mr. Hart. Why? Like nowadays, I'm like, I agree, Brett. You're right. Yeah. You're correct. I'm with you on this.
Yeah, retrospect is like, oh yeah, no, I definitely side with Bart these days. Jesus.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't understand.
Obviously, I mean,
it's like, you're not wrong, Bret Hart. You're wrong. Your hate is misguided. It should be at more relevant issues. You shouldn't hate Americans because they like Shawn Michaels. You should probably hate Americans for a variety of other reasons.
I don't know. Of course, real Brett is a real gentleman. It was a brief conversation, but he is a nice guy. So
he's the one guy who everybody in wrestling allows to be a bitter asshole. It's like, yeah, wrestling look, wrestling has took his ability to really enjoy post-retirement because he had a stroke, so he has to be dealing with that. Wrestling took his younger brother. Wrestling took other brothers. Wrestling took his brother-in-laws. Wrestling consumed his father, so that his childhood was kind of fucked up when you really look about it. Like, there's other people who had come from wrestling families that experienced some form of tragedy, but Bret Hart's and like the Harts in general, but Bret Hart got
almost cursed, right?
It was you have to wonder how this guy decided I'm cursed. Fuck it, I'm just gonna keep living though, and I'm gonna live my best life. And it's like, As a reward, Brett, you're allowed to be a fucking curmudgeon, and you can just shit on anybody you
Great
want. Man.
word.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
But that is to say, Bret Hart does take wrestling a little too seriously for the dork side. But I understand why that's his fucking life, for better and for worse. But here on the dork side, we don't take wrestling as seriously, which allows us to laugh at the fact that the demon was for sure not drinking, not feeding on the blood.
It was
It could have been. It could have been. We're not going to rule it out that it wasn't, but it definitely didn't come from an animal. So it may have came from a human.
No. Definitely not a bat either. No,
but maybe a consenting human. Like maybe like, here's my blood.
Maybe.
You know.
They went to a blood bank.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was a wrestler still. Balls Mahoney was like a legit vampire. Like he would go to blood banks and pay for blood to drink it.
I did not know that about
know
Balls
how many
Mahoney.
pints of blood you can drink until you get sick?
It would be like he would get it for like vampire parties. So like they all like it's like you get like a pint or whatever, like the standard bag, and you share it with like a whole bunch of people, but they all get their own little straws or something like that. I'm not sure.
Oh.
Yeah, it's I've never looked into it. I just know he's legitimately was a legitimately vampiric and drank blood.
Did not know that about most. The more you know.
The more you know. It's just something. Final thoughts on the Kiss demon. We'll start with you there, Michelle.
Concept interesting. I think with Bischoff behind it and the idea that they had with it, it could have been something that could have at least, to borrow a term from Tony Schiavone, put some butts in seats. But the way, like the match that you showed with the demon and the wall, I feel like by that point that type of match was the coveted restroom break of the event, and it's kind of unfortunate, but what would you say? Great on paper, not so good in execution.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. What about you, Carize? Closing thoughts on the
so
demon.
my like the promotion side of my personality thinks there was tons of missed opportunities there. I think the whole concert that they had with Kiss and unveiling him, amazing, and so many missed opportunities. Obviously, business dealings and shit got in the way. I think it could have been something. I think it was like, wow. They didn't do enough for that event, for their fighting event. It was actually interesting to watch, and really impressed with the strength of both of them. Could have went longer. I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of missed opportunities there. I'd like to see that again in a different play out. I don't know. Now you've got me so interested in all of this wrestling lore and stuff that there goes my night.
Your night, your week. Mondays on TSN, I think it is for
TSN?
Canada. TSN
Okay.
Mondays at 8, from 8 to 11 is Monday Night Raw.
God damn it! Just feeding me. Okay.
I believe also on TSN on Wednesdays is AEW Dynamite. I believe on Tuesdays as well is NXT, which is WWE's like developmental brand.
Okay.
I think they're all on TSN.
What's NXT?
It's just NXT. There's no actual like meaning behind it.
Acronym or anything. Okay.
And that the idea being like next. I get,
Got it. Yep.
It was just the branding. Yep. They didn't want to spend any more money on the branding of it, so they just took an old copyright that they had and transferred it over. And then on Fridays, I'm again assuming TSN. There's 2 shows. You got SmackDown, which is WWE SmackDown, and you have AEW Rampage.
And I've heard of this too. Okay.
I think it's on Thursday for you as well in Canada, but there's Impact Wrestling, which is there's a lot of national television shows for wrestling. Wrestling is very
Right.
I wouldn't say it's oversaturated. It's properly saturated. So, but yeah, you're in the deep end now. Welcome.
And I like just to put this out there, like this mushroom is still over here. If you guys want to come after it at some
Look,
point in your life, it is totally. It's there. You go. It's sitting on my shelf.
You put that title up once before, and I didn't get it. But you know what? You go ahead and put that thing back on the line, and it might just come home to Minnesota.
All right. You're gonna have to work on your submission game there, MJ.
Oh boy,
sharpshooters galore. Here we go. I do play a heart after all.
And the answer to the question is you can swallow 1 pint of blood before you get sick.
There we go. So if you split it between like 4 or 5 people, you're good.
There you go.
Easy peasy. Look at that. We learned a lot here on the Dork
We
Side.
did.
We're here to educate people on the nonsense that happens as a result of our conversations. So this is always good.
Thank you so much for the invite. That was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You guys want to let's do a little bit more closing promoting a little bit. Carize, you want to go ahead and tell people again where they can find you, what you're working on. This episode will air the 8th of November.
8th of November. Oh, fantastic. Okay, I'll make sure I do some promoting on my socials,
oh boy,
which is like on Instagram, Carize Hunter, on Twitch, which is very rare, but now that the fall's coming up, we'll probably do a little bit more RP and you'll see some more of my face there. And then, of course, TikTok, which is full of just motorcycle riding. So if you guys are into that, follow that. There's at least one video a week that gets up there. And that's it for me.
All right.
There's probably going to be some wrestling stuff on there.
We're just see Carize is watching it, just reacting to a TikTok. She's like,
some new cosplay.
Yeah. Look, there's a lot of good. I know a lot of cosplayers who are wrestling fans because of the costume aspect of. There was the New Day. One of the wrestlers in the New Day, Austin Creed, who is otherwise known as Xavier Woods on television, is a big cosplaying fan and big like he's a content. He's on YouTube. He's just a big video gamer. He's a guy. He's a host for G4 as well. He's a Mr. Does It All. But he loves incorporating like video games in and other aspects of video game culture. At WrestleMania 32, the New Day came out as like Saiyans, like with Saiyan gears from Dragon Ball Z. They've done Final Fantasy 14 inspired gear. They recently did Power Rangers inspired gear. Like one of them was the White Ranger. One of them was Green Ranger Tommy.
Cosplay to put together. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a lot of there's a lot of inspiration from a lot of his gear in the things in nerd culture. So the crossover, that Venn diagram is a Venn diagram, but there's a large circle in the middle. But yeah, so that's Carize Hunter on both the Instagram and the TikTok, and Carize,
and just Carize on the Twitch. You got it.
There we go. And MissMicheleJean.
Well, I am also on the same platforms, Instagram and TikTok and Twitch, all MissMicheleJean. 1L Michelle. TikTok and Instagram, I got to be a little more consistent on. Hopefully, by the time that you're listening to this, I've committed to that a little bit better. And then on Twitch, I'm there usually on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I'm usually doing simulation games or space games, like I mentioned before. Of course, I also co-host the Noobcast podcast, which is a gaming news and gaming discussion podcast with myself and 2 other streamers and the occasional guest, Mr. Grum. And we usually talk about whatever's some of the leading headlines in gaming culture at the time, which Q4, I'm sure we're going to have plenty to talk about around this time.
Yeah, so many games dropping.
That's right. So we'll have plenty to talk about then. And MissMicheleJean. Or you can just do MissMicheleJean.tv to find the Twitch channel, which will redirect you to everything else.
There we go. Look at that. 2 pros, I tell you. It's so good to have pros. Not that I haven't had pros, but pros who have no problem in selling themselves. That didn't come out any better. No, two people who know where you can be who know where they want to be found at all time. I don't know. This is not going.
I love being in the ring.
Thank you guys for coming on the Dork Side of the Ring. I can't wait to have you guys on again. I tell everybody I do a little. I'm doing a little mix and matching. I like to get the idea to get you somebody you're comfortable with, and then slowly grow that umbrella of hey, this person's good with me. Here's some episodes that they've been on if you want to listen to them. And here we go.
Great structure.
Yeah. So I can't wait to have you guys on again. Thank you for coming on. It was a blast watching the Kiss Demon with the two of you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
So there you have it. Live future wrestling from Carize's backyard. You can take on Carize and try to win championships from Carize. Good luck. I'll take it up on the offer, and I will win the champion, and I will be the longest reigning champion of all time in history because I will never be beaten. That's right. Thanks, Carize and Michelle, for coming by, having a good time, watching some dorky wrestling. It's always good to have somebody who, like Carize, who's just ready to fuck it. Like, you heard the enthusiasm to learn. Like, oh, hey, I looked this up. Why is Mike Tyson here? Like, that kind of shit. I love that, right? I love sharing my hobby, my passion of professional wrestling and watching professional wrestling with somebody like Carize. And I also enjoy talking pro wrestling with somebody who, like me, has a passion for pro wrestling or understands, pro wrestling. You heard, the story about MissMicheleJean going to SummerSlam 99 in Minnesota, and remembering that and going, wow, okay, yeah, no, this is why I wouldn't have watched this, because I would have been watching Raw to see what happened after I attended a show the night before. Didn't know that type of stuff. That stuff coming up organically is a lot of fun, and I hope you guys had a lot of fun. I did. If you're listening to this on Patreon, thank you so much. Remember to download this and just to have it there. Maybe just give it another listen and remember how much fun you had listening it the first time and subsequent times after. We've got a fun one next week. We are going to be myself and my two friends from Twitch yet again, Cheese Whiz and Lucar, the two goofiest guests I think I could have combined. I love these guys. A lot of fun. We ramble along. I think it might have been my longest. If it's just off the idea of how much time dedicated to an episode, based off of the viewing of a specific thing, it's definitely the longest. We watched a 5-minute compilation of Vince McMahon in a hospital. As some of you may know what that is, where Mr. Sacco is debuted for the first time, and Stone Cold bedpan bonks Vince McMahon. So we watched that. It's 5 or 6 minutes, but we go almost 2.5 hours just talking about stuff. Also, discover that Cheese has never had the special Reese's, and we have a live reaction of him enjoying them for the first time. So that's actually a lot of fun, and it's a good time. Cheese Whiz and Lucar next week here on the Dork Side of the Ring. Stay tuned on Patreon for another Patreon watch-along exclusive. Speaking of Patreon, all the things that go up on Patreon this month are going to be free to access for the public. You don't have to have a Patreon. You don't have to subscribe to Patreon this month to get this month's videos and content. I'm putting them up for free as a kind of a, think of it like a pre-release tease, especially with next month being December and the season of Grummas. I will try to get as much I can do around that time. It's going to be a busy month. Holidays are a busy month for me anyways, but now at the Patreon, the Discord, I'm gonna get everything ready to go. We gonna be good to go next month. Here we're good this month, we're good forever because you're here hanging out with us. Dork Side of the Ring. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram at Dorkside Ring. You can find me, Grum, on Twitter and on Instagram at I am Grum. Enjoy your week, friends, listening to copious amounts of other podcasts, maybe finding me on Twitch, twitch.tv/tgrum. You can also just find me at grum.tv, where you can also join my Discord, join.grum.tv, and get in on the community that we have building there around myself, my content, the dork side of the ring, and most importantly, the community itself. Thank you guys for hanging out. I always say, they're not good. It's a word filler. It's a time filler. You really should not do that, guys. But I'm not that professionally trained. I'm just casually professionally trained to be a broadcaster. Thank you again to Carize and MissMicheleJean for coming on. Follow them at Carize Hunter, at MissMicheleJean. That's Michelle with 1 L. And that's right. That's how I remember. Yeah, that's how I remember it. It's because that's how it actually is with 1 L. Like, it's not like anyways. Thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of The Dork Side of the Ring. Enjoy your week. Enjoy the rest of the just time today. Breathe it in, pal. All right. And remember, wrestling is a lot more fun when no one's taking it seriously. We don't take it seriously over here on the Dork Side because we're the Dork Side of the Ring podcast. And I'll see you guys next week. Here, have a good one. I love you. Listen to that music. Yeah. That's right. Music chick with the music. Yeah, hit it.